Hey everyone, welcome to the Thoughtful Software Podcast. My name is Fahad, and joining me always is Andrew Wolf, the CEO of Skiplist. In this podcast, we mainly discuss software development and, in particular, how to build great software. So today, we're very fortunate enough to talk to Jefferson Sevilla, the co-founder of the Town Kitchen, and Eric Quick, the CEO. If you haven't heard of the Town Kitchen, it's an amazing company. They do essentially food delivery here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but with a greater mission by providing jobs to disadvantaged youths, reentry youths. And it's an amazing mission where they want to build this company to have a social impact. And so today we were able to talk to them about what they're doing, some of the challenges that they face, how they actually implement software within their day-to-day operations, how they're actually training some of their employees, and the social impact of software, which is not widely discussed. But please check out thetownkitchen.com. It's an amazing company. The food is delicious. You're not going to regret it. The people are just awesome, and it's a great mission. So please put it in your rotation and enjoy the discussion. Here we go. Jefferson, why don't you just give us a quick intro about you and the town?
I've been in the restaurant industry for about 23 years. I started when I was like 14, worked in some family restaurants, and essentially decided in after college to pursue a more focused career in terms of food. And so I worked at a variety of different hotels and independent restaurants, and uh, about what is almost 10 years ago, found myself working at Google. Um, was there for 7 years. Learned a lot in terms of the corporate dining industry and how the relationship with food and like tech employees kind of created productivity and efficiency, and just developed a lot of relationships along the way. And in 2015, we launched the Town Kitchen, in hopes and with the premise of being able to help local communities through a food product that kind of brings people together. My philosophy has always been that food is a universal uh, gathering point, and it's something that anyone can have a conversation over. And who doesn't like to eat? I think coming along these last 4 years, I've learned a lot in terms of like who our target demographic of services, which is foster care youth, reentry youth, as well as those who are looking for upward economic growth. Um, and it's been a good ride thus far. A lot of challenges as a startup, but we found our place in the market. And the more and more the Town Kitchen grows, we've have received a lot of positive energy in terms of our clientele, which we refer to as our partners, because essentially they are feeding our mission and helping support our mission, and what our vision is in terms of what we're trying to accomplish in the long run. So
Yeah, that's really interesting background. We'll get into that a little bit more. But Eric, why don't you tell us about your background and how you ended up at the Town Kitchen, and what kind of your vision is.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having us on the podcast. This is great to be able to talk about the story. Similar to Jefferson, I actually started in the restaurant industry as well at the age of 14. It paid more than a paper route, and I only had to work 2 days a week, so it really allowed me to spend my time efficiently, if you will. But grew up in the industry and, through a variety of different experiences, prior to my undergraduate and even beyond that, spent, 5 years at the Disney theme parks in multiple roles in food and beverage, and then took on a national role with a large business dining food service company as well. And so, beyond that, I really started to evolve my career about 10, 12 years ago, really more focused on the sustainable side of food, increasing access to healthy, fresh meals, whether it was with Revolution Foods and expanding their footprint from Oakland nationally to make sure that kids in the poorest areas were getting access to healthy school meals. And from there, I really spent a lot of time in early stage startups, food delivery, kind of the intersection of sustainability, technology, and the food industry. Food industry has been pretty behind the times as it relates to technology, and it's been a way that I've seen to improve operations, the economics, the overall efficiency of them with our people, and ultimately deliver a better experience for our guests, our customers, our partners that we're working with.
Is your customer base mainly technology companies, or it's across the board?
Yeah, so historically we're a business to business, company at the end of the day, but because of our social mission, we have a big following with nonprofit and foundations that are looking to feed their employees or their conferences or whatnot. So we actually heavily skew more on the nonprofit, social justice, and foundation side today, with an eye on really expanding into a lot of technology companies that are social minded and want to put their money into impact. And so we're really seeking out partners like that want to not change a lot of what they're doing on a daily basis, maybe already buy meals or snacks for their employees, but by partnering with us, they actually can fuel more local economic growth, as well as, help individuals like Jefferson I mentioned earlier, our youth, really helping them grow economically and professionally.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. And then with Jefferson and I were talking about this before we started recording was, there's a lot of food startups out there that are just delivering food, and that's their kind of mission. But you have a bigger, grander mission, which is so powerful. I'm curious, what's your experience from companies or trying to expand your business, because you are doing something that's a great mission. Why don't people adopt this faster? What challenges have you seen?
Some of the challenges I think that we face is obviously it's a very competitive market. What some of the issues are their budget. Sometimes a lot of companies don't have such a high a budget, or they're looking for something specific. The way that we've run our offerings is, we have a lunchbox offering that consists of 5, which could potentially more grow into more options in the future. But primarily, historically, we've had 5 options that have rotated every single week. And we also offer hot lunch, which is family style. And sometimes a lot of the businesses kind of look at our offerings aren't necessarily kind of sold as to what we're offering for, let's say, that day or week. And so they may gravitate towards another business of some sort. And then another thing is also our bandwidth. And in that, it's just how far is it, and then figuring out the logistics of what is the cost and everything. Do we have the resources to, ensure that when our product leaves our kitchen, that it's going to get there in the best state possible. We want to ensure that the entire customer service experience is, immaculate and flawless. As the Bay Area continues to grow, we've everyone's seen a spike in traffic times. And so depending on where the location is being delivered, we have to take that into consideration and understand that, food safety and all those things need to be aligned in order to ensure that, we have an optimal experience.
Yeah, I think a couple of the other pieces that we face more on a macro level is awareness. We've been a little engine that could for 3.5 years now, and we're hitting our stride. We're getting focused. We're driving organizational disciplines to be able to create not just revenue, as a lot of folks try and chase revenue for the sake of revenue, but profitable revenue. For us as an organization, we don't feel any social impact if we're not making any money on our meals. In our deliveries. And so the key thing for us is really discipline I always say a demonic focus on the details. And that's everything from what is a delivery experience our customers will come back to us and we have that word of mouth advertising and keeping our marketing costs low, or if it's just being disciplined around what our order size minimums are, and providing alternatives to customers that may come to us that have a budget that's below where our starting point is. And making sure we can hand them off to another food company in the local area that may be doing delivery. I think the opportunity for us is also awareness. We have such a strong customer base that loves what we do, that they are our ambassadors and they're out talking about us all the time. And so we haven't really spent a lot of money on marketing historically, but we have a pretty strong pipeline of customers that are coming to us and coming back to us. And it's one of the things we really know is a kind of sticky part of our proposition as we continue to move forward is sharing our impact with our customers and making sure they know by spending X amount of dollars with us, they're creating Y amount of impact and employing X number of people, as well as just making sure that we're continuing to be transparent with them and share with them the larger impact they've had by working with us for the entire year and kind of that aggregated data. I think it's so important to one, running the business, but more importantly, if we have these partners that are financially kind of investing in their meals, right, because of what we do, we owe it to them to share the impact that they're having beyond the meal.
So how are you guys using software? We discuss a lot about software on this podcast, and it's thoughtful software, which is this premise around building value for customers. There's just so much waste that's pervasive in the software industry today. There's just so many projects that get wasted, and so our whole concept has been around trying to understand what the user is doing, and eliminate a lot of the unnecessary waste that happens when we build software. But how do you use software right now to help you with logistics, data? Tell me about how you're using that to enable to make better decisions.
Yeah, so I think that we've kind of done what most startups do in their early stages, and rely on Google Suite and some other things that are low cost options to get to a certain point. Where it's actually very timely that we're talking about this because we're instituting several new systems organizationally that are focused on a variety of functions to really streamline our order to fulfillment capabilities, if you will. And so we'll be using a software product that will allow us to real time understand what our costs are based on what just came in the back door this morning, right? And based on the recipes that we have in our catalog. And then understanding, our real-time gross margins based on that as well, based on what we just sent out the door today. What was the revenue? What was the cost structure? What were the indirect or direct costs, and how do we stack up? Right? By the time you get to the end of the month, it's too late. You've lost the money if you've lost it. You talk about waste. Food waste is obviously a big topic and something that's near and dear to our hearts as we grow the company, and sometimes scale drives more of that. If not on a percentage basis, it definitely drives just mass volumes of it. And food delivery today and being able to have convenience, being able to order up till call it 10 in the morning, the same morning, and getting the stuff delivered. There's a cost of doing that. There's a cost to that convenience that a lot of customers don't realize. There's, somewhere between 5 and 7, 8% waste that's generated. And so, we've really tried to use software to help us be smarter about what we're doing, more efficient with how we're doing it, and probably most importantly, to inform decisions that we make. Data to understand what those type of food waste is has caused us not to have same day order and delivery. And so we've taken a little bit of a stance on, most of our customers are trying to plan ahead. They don't want the anxiety knowing that the morning of they're trying to order food for the office. So we've asked, 48-hour cutoff, and that has worked pretty well for us so far. And it's a discussion we have where we may be met with our partners that are saying, hey, we'd really like to have morning of, and we start educating them on the food waste piece. And typically if somebody's working with us because of our social mission, they're concerned about food waste as well. And so, it's something that we end up having a good kumbaya moment with them around why we don't do it and how it's informed via data to a large degree. But I also believe, as we continue to move forward and scale, logistics software is going to be uber critical for us to make sure we're optimizing, our fleet, and our job size economics are constantly being measured, and we're not losing money there, especially with traffic times increasing, like Jefferson said. But I think that the piece, and Fahad, you and I had talked about this previously, we're a public benefit corporation, which means we exist as a company. Our profits exist as a company to fuel our social impact. And so one of the things that I report out to our board, that I don't believe there are good solutions today in the software industry, but I do believe it could really help a lot of companies that are social mission minded, whether it's that they're contributing dollars back to the co-op in Ecuador that's producing their cocoa bean, or if it's similar to us where, there's metrics that we need to look at and evaluate and measure and hold ourselves accountable to of why we exist. Having easy ways to track that, so I can report that out to my board, I can report that out to my investors. And these are metrics that aren't the typical financial metrics, right? So if you think triple bottom line or quadruple bottom line, what kind of impact are we creating? What kind of hours? What kind of jobs are we creating? What's the economic impact for that we're creating by working with underrepresented communities that have small businesses, whether it's a women-owned bakery or a minority-owned catering company that may supply into us. I think that's a huge opportunity within the software space, and kind of thinking about thoughtful software, really being able to understand kind of social impact or social metrics more than just financial metrics.
That's really interesting. I mean, do you see NetSuite or any of those accounting ERP systems, is what they're traditionally called? There are no like packages or any systems that exist today that give you those numbers?
I've actually worked with the nonprofit side of NetSuite, and it's just a different pay structure, than their typical their for-profit side of the business. It doesn't really have those kind of components built into it. It's similar to their, the regular manufacturing module or their regular financial planning module or forecasting or whatever it may be. And so I haven't seen anything that's out there today. Not, there's obviously tons of stuff that's out there, but I really see this, and I've spent the last 10 or 12 years in this space specifically, whether it's certified B corporations that are focused on, again, contributing overseas to family-run co-ops or farms or, other social mission focuses. And I haven't found anything, other than good old Google Suite, Google Sheets and otherwise, that, is used to track. And there's, the Certified B Corporation, you publish your impact report every year. And the amount of hours I've seen go into those to be able to publish them, to track down the numbers, kind of almost in review mirror fashion. There's a lot of wasted productivity that exists out there in a lot of these companies. And most of these companies are, there's a large percentage of them that are sub 10 million in revenue. And there's some larger ones like Nutiva and others that are, close to $1 billion. But there's still a lot of time that's utilized by individuals trying to track down the information. It's not, easily available.
Interesting. In general, the nonprofit space, in my experience, has been completely underserved by software vendors. My wife used to she was a project manager at a place in Washington, WACAP, and she was managing a early childhood development project, and like they had no software to run this thing. There was just nothing available. and all the companies wouldn't give them free stuff, but they're trying to help children with early childhood screening,
Hmm.
and they're clearly doing great work. And it's something that broke my heart a little bit that no one was willing to give away or help out nonprofit in need. Would you say there's
Yeah.
just a general need for that? Like, should people be paying attention to nonprofits as a legitimate source of, one, if you're a business-minded folk, revenue, but two, an opportunity to serve a greater good?
Should they, or are they? I mean,
Both, really.
yeah, so I think it's interesting, and I'll kind of comment on the nonprofit piece. A lot of times people get us confused with a nonprofit, and this kind of goes back to kind of social capital, right? And so we're a for-profit company, and so we tend to see people behave differently around us, right? They view us as somebody that, by a business model, can be self-sustaining to support what our mission is. And so I don't know if there's blinders or filters that exist within, a lot of for-profit companies in how nonprofits are viewed. But I do think there's a big need for it. I have a son with special needs, and, never does a week go by when we're not, exposed to a nonprofit that's trying to help, early childhood development and screenings and other things. And I definitely feel like there's a huge opportunity for that. But, at the same time, what I've seen, at least in this role, and even working with, companies like Revolution Foods, which is similar from a for-profit to fuel a bigger mission, companies want to be part of what you're doing. And, maybe they'll compromise their rate structure, so that they can be part of the bigger journey. But I haven't seen a lot of companies do that. Now, what I would say is, I to a large degree, see as Millennial and Gen Z get in roles that they're influencing corporate spend, that's important to them, right? What we're doing is important to them, and it's not just a financial ROI. It's, look, there's an impact ROI here that we need to be thinking about as an organization. I care about this cause, or I care about causes in general, and we should be doing this. And so, I would think that there's probably going to be, a good movement on this particular front in the next several years, as we see, Millennial and Gen Z get into larger leadership roles, especially in tech companies. I mean, we're excited about that because we know there's a ton of alignment with what we're doing with those particular buyers or, buyer personas. And we hear it all the time. And the more information we share with them, the more they're ambassadors for us in our cause.
Interesting. So I want to pivot slightly to a point you made at the beginning. So when I was younger, I grew up under the poverty line. So, I didn't always have running water. I didn't always have electricity, and tech was my way out. My family's doing great because I was able to learn software, and I had a knack for it. But not everybody gets the opportunity to see that as a career path, nor do they have examples in their community of people that made this a career path. And so I really appreciate people focusing on that and helping people see the opportunities that are in front of them, because tech is a great way to elevate you and your family out of poverty. And if used right, you could be making six figures. You'd be the first one in your family to ever make six figures. And in some ways, if your family's making $18,000 a year, you can 5x what was possible previously. In a place like Bay Area, where the possibilities are endless, it's incredible. So I'm so excited to see some organization like yourselves working towards that goal, because obviously I personally have experienced it, and I just see the impact tech can have if we think about the underserved communities that it can have an impact in.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting point, and one of the things that why I'm at the Town Kitchen, quite honestly. I think a lot of our childhood shape who we are and what we focus on. And Jefferson and I have a ton of alignment on this, on what is our role as an organization for the individuals that we're focused on. And it's not just about paying a living wage, which we do. It's not just about giving them a job, and if they're a reentry and they need a second chance or whatever it may be. But we have an obligation to sit down with them and expose them to opportunity, whether it's internal organization or it's through one of our partners, right? And so, there's an amazing amount of things that can happen when you show somebody what is possible, what is within their grasp, and then help them, through the course of their work with us, level them up economically and professionally, right? And professionally first, and then economics come with it, or vice versa, or kind of in tandem.
What is some of the professional training that you provide to the employees?
A lot of the youth that come into it, like, they just don't necessarily have any real sense of direction as to like where their career path wants to go. And I believe for us, we started with food because it was probably the singular area that could easily be translated, in the bigger picture, most comfortably for them, because you can go start off as a dishwasher or a prep cook anywhere and move your way to the top. And so a lot of the training that comes along with what we do at the Town Kitchen is circumvented around, just soft skills, how to carry yourself professionally, how to work within a team, how to develop awareness in terms of your time efficiency, or, making sure you show up early or show up on time, and essentially be accountable for any mistakes and projects that you're responsible for. So a lot of it starts with those kinds of soft skills, and then dependent on how we expose them to different fields, whether it be with our tech team or our growth and sales team, and a variety of different partners, we kind of figure, okay, how can we help them move along a lot faster once they figure out which direction that they want to go towards. And just to emphasize what Eric said, like, and what Andrew was talking about in terms of their upbringings and their experiences. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the youth, don't necessarily understand that resources are at their, disposal, and they just don't know how to either get to it, know how to use it if it's put in front of them, and they don't necessarily know how to ask the right questions or whatnot. And so we try to develop them on a lot of the basic professional soft skills that we feel that they could at least start building on. And then as they continue to figure out what their pathway looks like, then we can essentially put what we consider mentors in front of them and kind of cultivate and nurture that behavior or those skills even further.
I think on that point, our vision for the future is really, each individual with a personal roadmap, career roadmap or opportunity roadmap that, may continue to focus on the culinary side of the business. And, how do we provide them interdisciplinary mentors as well as cross-disciplinary organizationally? Based on what we're doing, we've got some amazing partners that want to be involved and help us along the way. Some nonprofits that have, I'll say certain discipline structure already established where we can partner on those best practices and build that into, our overall culture. So when they come in, they're also learning responsibility. It's time to time, they being on time, right? And just the simple discipline around being on time and making sure you show up to work and you're reliable and your teammates can count on you it seems trivial depending on your upbringing, but those are major accomplishments that Jefferson and the team have with some of the youth. And so as we continue to grow the organization, it's really, when we have a tech partner, we have a marketing partner, and they say, hey, we'll be happy to do internships for your employees. We start to expose them to different work environments, right? We start to expose them to the tech company, and they get to go out on deliveries. They get to go out and be part of events that we produce. And just by the mere fact of that, they get exposure to other environments that they haven't seen previously, which is eye-opening for them on what's possible, right? And I think it all supports our bigger purpose, which is, exposure and the ability to understand that there are opportunities beyond what they know from the areas that they're in, which are very challenging environments, and a lot of the youth come to us for stability. They come to work to actually de-stress, which seems just crazy, but based on the environments they're in, that is how they view coming to work. And so it's our responsibility to help shepherd them along the way, and help them get to that level they want to get to.
Very interesting. How can a company like Skiplist, who, we have a lot of software talent, that's what we do software development, how can we help? Obviously, we're a for-profit organization, but we like to be, we feel like we have a stewardship that we need to help lead the community as well and have an impact on that. So how can we use our resources to help, one, underserved communities, but two, companies like yourself have a bigger impact?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would, encourage you guys to do is, a lot of times these organizations are so in their businesses and they're so, I'll say strapped from a resource perspective that they struggle to actually be able to work on their business and where they're trying to go. And so having, insightful perspective from outside eyes on where things could be more efficient and a solution you could build for them to improve productivity, especially on the back end, kind of, call it general and kind of administrative support for what they're doing. A lot of times they're just so in the business, they can't work on the business. And so I sometimes brainstorming sessions with them on what their key pain points are, or what they believe they are, may give you insight on where the true, I'll call it market opportunity is on what could be built. For us, I mean, I'll go back to the social mission metrics piece, putting together a solution that, hits on a lot of the social mission metrics or the ability to measure, social impact or social, impact metrics that's not your standard financial metric evaluation, and has it real time that then these companies, these nonprofits can share with their customers or with their investors or with their donors if they're nonprofit. Like that could be powerful, because in the circles that the leaders I talk to, everybody struggles with how to measure it and how much time it takes to actually find the numbers when they have to report out monthly or quarterly with their board or, their donors or investors or whatnot.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I want to go back on one point before we wrap up, but I wanted to touch on, this idea that you're training these young kids on, these soft skills, which is really important. You see a lot, though, nowadays that young kids are just basically handed an iPad or something like that, and they're like, start coding. But, it's a good mixture that I think people need to have both type of skills. And I'm really interested in your thoughts on everyone's thoughts on this next generation of, software developers or, workers that are entering the workforce. And for software to become a better industry and to be more thoughtful, we are going to need youth that are from these different neighborhoods. And, we had a podcast, our last one actually talked about how actually a lot of people at Skiplist, we have very unusual backgrounds where we didn't follow like the tech track from a young age. We kind of like stumbled onto it at a later stage, and now are building great software. But our background has really grounded us into building great software and how we actually think about our clients, how concerned we are about like what we're actually building. Whether there's maybe something that's off the shelf that we could recommend rather than, building something custom. So I'd be curious on just your thoughts on like how we can actually prepare these youths to go beyond, the town kitchen and beyond, as they grow up. How can we enable them to actually use technology and kind of dive into that field maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting. Jefferson, I've been talking a lot about this lately, actually, and what our role could be, within their day to day. So, imagine if you're a line cook or whatnot, and an hour out of every 8-hour shift, you were in front of a screen learning, coding software, or we're helping that, again, professionally level up their core competencies around something that's really interesting to them, that's going to build to where they're trying to go. and there's so many online solutions that are out there today that exist, right? But some of these individuals aren't going to have a laptop. Maybe they don't have wireless at home. Maybe wireless is the only thing they have is on their phone.
Yeah.
So how do we create kind of that laboratory within our office that's safe and, and it's accessible and merely creates that access for them, right? Because that's one of the biggest, talk about the digital divide or whatever you want to call it. The biggest gap is actually just access. And so how do we provide that? How do we have our partner companies that have software solutions? How do we get them up to speed on some of those things, whether it's a project management software or it's, something deeper on coding that really helps prepare them, to Andrew's point earlier, to get, to have a way out, right? I mean, yes, we provide a livable wage and that may be pretty significant compared to what they've seen before and what they've made before, but why not make 5 times that or 10 times that just because you've had an opportunity, you got exposure, and you have the right support structure to be able to, learn a new skill, learn a new software program, or, learn something new about a whole nother industry you didn't even know existed because you didn't have visibility to it where you grew up.
Andrew, how did you pick up software? Did you fall onto a computer or what happened?
Oh man, this is such a cool story. It's not cool. I used to run a bike chop shop when I was younger. We would steal bikes, we'd chop them, and we'd sell them. And we got caught because you always get caught. And I got put on probation. And I was allowed to go to the library, and I was allowed to stay home. And at the library, I was playing a game when it first came out that was called RuneScape, and I wrote a bot that automated it. I just wanted to learn how to do it. I was tired of playing the game grind, and so being the rule breaker I was, I wrote that
Where
script.
did you learn how to write a bot? Where was that?
I just this was early days. So I Alta Vista'd it before Google was even a verb. And I found out how to write just a small little PHP script. And I pivoted that into a consulting gig at a guy that was selling beer cozies. He had one of the first websites on the internet. A guy's a millionaire now. I'm still friends with him. And he gave me a job, and then I just never looked back. We had a couple of programming things at school too, so I took those to continue to develop my skills, but pretty much self-taught until college, and then obviously went for computer science and stuff. But if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to break the rules and I had I was lazy, I don't know if I'd ever have gotten into programming.
You could probably thank getting arrested, maybe.
Yeah, let's look at the cause effect on this one. It's interesting though, Andrew. I mean, when you think about, and I'm kind of one of those types of individuals too. I don't like rules. I like to break them, or I like to kind of shape my own kind of pathway. Be able to figure out what your preferred environment is. And our leadership team talks a lot about, how we put each other in your preferred environment to do your best work. And I think that equally goes for us with our youth, and being able to create the right environment for them to explore to a degree, and to find something that they really get excited about, whether it's cutting corners on a video game or something more than that. This is how do we support that kind of that journey of learning.
That's so incredibly important, because a lot of people think, it's about following the rules. And I like to think entrepreneurship is about saying, you know what, screw the rules, right? I'm going to make the new rules. I'm going to make this new thing, and it's going to break the old way of doing things. And most of the great inventions of our time, right? The automobile and Henry Ford, he said, I don't want you to have a faster horse. I want you to have this thing, and I'm going to break the rules, and they're my rules now. And that mindset, and I think a lot of people from, at least from my neighborhood and the people I rolled with when I was younger, they had that mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset of, this is my world. I'm going to make it look like I want to. I think a lot of people can be successful once they're shown that, hey, you can break the rules and be successful. Obviously, don't break the law, but you can use that mindset for good. And once they see that, I think a lot of people are successful, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. We need more people like that in the world, because that's what causes change.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'd probably touch on is, you have all this new technology like AI and machine learning and robotics that's, it's gonna displace millions and millions of jobs. So a lot of these low tech type jobs are gonna be replaced. But the challenge that see is, or something that's I think more dangerous, is that there's the same type of person that's building all this technology. There's not a lot of diversity. It's very unrepresented by, all the different classes that are out there. So as new technology is going to be implemented, we need to be very careful and mindful about who's actually building this and who's it for. Otherwise, there's just going to be a whole communities and people that are just going to be displaced by technology, and it's going to be pretty tragic if we don't help those that are more disadvantaged to kind of move up and say, hey, look, technology and these new soft skills are something that you need to have to survive.
Yeah, and I think like
Yeah.
part of like for the reason that the town kitchen was started was because we were looking at the future, right? We've specifically chosen a demographic that is underserved, and as to reemphasize what Eric was saying, like a lot of it's just for lack of access or lack of exposure. For my experiences is, our typical youth candidate comes into the business with no experience whatsoever, like no skills whatsoever. And so we found that it was our obligation to kind of cultivate and show them like the endless possibilities there are out there. And to reiterate what Andrew was saying, like it is important, for people in these underserved areas to come out of their shell and pronounce themselves, because their survival skills is hustle. They know how to get things done and know how to find a way to get whatever it is that they want. And so they already have one of the most important things that any professional should have is drive and determination. And the fact that these these communities aren't getting any kind of support in that realm, both like professionally and personally, like it doesn't bode well for communities in general, because they're not getting a second look. As you said, Fahad, like these communities and these people are getting left in the dust as more and more technology continues to be more prevalent in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the last things that I would say is there are some examples, albeit a slim number of them, but companies like Checker in San Francisco who've created technology around people that have a spotty past, getting it's kind of the new evolution of the background check, and being able to get them jobs and that kind of thing. It's a tech company. And there are companies out there that are trying to use or create a platform for good. And I think what you guys are thinking about, I think is probably on the forefront of how to take something that is as powerful as software and be able to direct its impact to improve social situations, whether it be youth at risk reentry like we work with, or if it's powering data and visibility around impact around the world on supply chains. I mean, I think that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. And I think it's just a matter of which problem first.
Thanks for listening to the Thoughtful Software Podcast. You can always check us out at skiplist.com. Thanks, and we'll talk to you again.